Welcome back. Today we are going to look at stories behind 10 of the most haunted paintings in the world that you don't want to own. Most of these paintings are either hanging in galleries or locked away. However, people claim that owning copies, prints, or even looking at them can cause uneasiness, feelings of being watched and inexplicable fear. So if you have any paintings in your house right now, well, you may want to think twice about where they came from. Number 1. The Hands Resist Him. There is no doubt the painting is disturbing. It shows a young boy standing next to a small girl doll, with hollow eyes and a sad downturned mouth. The doll is holding a strange device with wires coming out of it. However, changing the hues of the image produces a sinister image altogether. The eeriest part of the painting are the many disembodied children's hands reaching toward the boy through the glass panels of a door just behind him. But even more disturbing than the painting itself are the stories of what has happened to people who come in contact with it. The painting has an ordinary enough beginning. It was painted in 1972 by the artist William Stoneham, who was on a contract to produce 2 paintings a month for $200 each. In 1974, it was put on display at the Fingarten Gallery in Beverly Hills, California. It was reviewed by the art critic for the Los Angeles Times, Henry Seldes, and purchased by the actor John Marley, perhaps best known for waking up next to that horse's head in The Godfather. But then the story gets weird. A few years after the painting was sold, the art critic Henry Seldes died. Then immediately after that, the gallery owner died. Then, in 1984, John Marley also died. The painting disappeared, not surfacing again until 2000 in a bizarre posting on eBay. The new owners were trying to sell it because they said it was haunted. They claimed the boy and the doll, in the picture, would fight with each other during the night, terrifying their 4-year-old daughter. They set up a motion-sensing camera in the room for 3 nights and claimed they captured the boy in the picture leaving the frame and coming into the room, apparently fleeing in terror. In what a skeptic might think was a marketing ploy, the owners warned buyers not to bid on the painting if they were faint of heart or unfamiliar with supernatural events. More than 30,000 people visited the auction page. Many reported just looking at the painting made them feel ill or upset. The painting ultimately sold for $1,025 to a buyer in Michigan, who is reportedly keeping it in storage and refusing much bigger offers to buy it. Because of the internet sensation, Stoneham came forward with what inspired him to paint such a haunting scene. The boy, he said, was himself. It was modeled on a photograph taken when he was 5. The title comes from a poem written by his then wife. It reads, in part, "The hands resist him, like the secret of his birth." Stoneham was adopted. The children's hands, he says, represent other lives, the glass door the barrier between worlds, and the doll his guide between those worlds. The fame of the haunted painting led to commissions for more works, and Stoneham has painted a series of sequels. The most recent, called The Hands Invent Him, depicts the scene from the other side of that glass door. Number 2. The Crying Boy. This painting, along with other similar ones of children crying, was done by an Italian artist, Bruno Amadio, under the name Giovanni Bragolin. The prints were mass-produced and widely sold throughout the UK. On September 4, 1985, British tabloid newspaper The Sun published a story about a couple, Ron and May Hall, whose house had burned down due to a fire, which started in a chip pan. The painting of the crying boy remained untouched, while all around it was charred ruins. The couple blamed the fire on the painting. A fire station officer, Alan Wilkinson, said he knew of numerous other cases where this same painting was the only object in a house to survive a fire unscathed. A photo accompanying the story showed the crying boy, and the caption read, "Tears for Fears, the portrait that firemen claim is cursed." No fireman had actually used the word cursed, but a legend was born. The next day, The Sun ran a follow-up, saying they'd been flooded by calls from horrified readers. A woman named Dora Mann said her house burnt down just 6 months after she bought the painting. She said, "All my paintings were destroyed, except the one of the crying boy." Another reader said her son had caught his private parts on a hook just after she bought the crying boy. A third claimed that her husband and 3 sons had all died since she bought it in 1959. Another house displaying a crying boy painting by a different artist, Anna's in Kyson, burnt down. A story about the fire had a brigade spokesperson claiming there was no cause for alarm, but adding, "These incidents are becoming more frequent." The Sun, thrilled by the success of their story, offered to take the cursed paintings off people's hands. Soon, their offices were stacked with 2,500 prints of the crying boy. They were eventually burnt in a gigantic bonfire. A story spread that the crying boy was a Spanish street urchin called Don Benillo, whose parents had died in a fire. No one wanted to take him in, because wherever he stayed, fires would start. An artist painted him, but then the artist's studio was destroyed by fire. Years later, an unidentified body was found inside the charred ruins of a car. The name on the driver's license was Don Benillo. In 2010, a BBC radio presenter and comedian, Steve Punt, attempted to burn the crying boy on his show. The attempt was filmed and put on YouTube. Punt set fire to the painting, but the flames wouldn't spread. Punt finished the show by saying he would leave the painting on his porch. He said he wouldn't take any chances with this painting. Even today, people still believe in the curse of the crying boy. Dr. David Clark from Sheffield Hallam University wrote an article about the legend just a few years ago. He was flooded with emails from people who begged him to take the painting off their hands. Would you pay $165 to have this painting hanging in your house? Let us know what you think. Number 3. The Dead Mother. The Dead Mother by Edvard Munch, the artist most famous for his painting The Scream and an overall fairly dark individual. Munch had been driven nearly insane by his upbringing in the house of an abusive religious fanatic of a father after the tragic death of his mother and sister by tuberculosis when he was only 5 years old. The Dead Mother seems to reflect some of that angst, despair and insanity, with these elements congealing to form what can only be described as a truly disturbing painting to look at. It depicts a young girl with her back turned to a bed, on which her dead mother lies as she holds her hands to her ears and displays a wide-eyed expression of disbelief. Munch himself said of his work in his typically dour way, sickness, madness and death were the black angels who watched over his cradle. Already creepy enough then, but it gets even creepier. People who have owned the painting claimed that the girl's eyes incessantly followed them, that the sheets on mother's bed in the painting would rustle or move, or even that the girl's apparition would occasionally leave the painting altogether. Pretty scary, isn't it? Number 4. The Portrait of Bernardo de Galvez. The Hotel Galvez in Galveston, Texas is renowned for housing several paranormal entities. Chief among them is the spirit of Spanish military leader Bernardo de Galvez, who fought for the American colonies during the Revolutionary War. He died in 1786, but according to countless observers, the portrait of him that hangs at the end of a downstairs hallway at Hotel Galvez is haunted by the man's ghost. Dozens of guests have reported the portrait's painted eyes following them as they walk down the hallway. They also report cold spots upon approaching the painting. There is another phenomenon associated with the painting. Evidently, tourists who try to photograph the painting claim they can't get a clear photo of the portrait until they get permission from Bernardo's spirit. Yes, what you heard is correct. You have to ask the officer for permission to click a picture, or it comes out blurred. A paranormal investigation team actually visited the Hotel Galvez for this specific purpose and claimed that all their initial photos were blurry or distorted. Only after they had verbally asked for permission did they capture a clear image. Some say the hotel was built atop the graves of victims from the hurricane of 1900. Since then, there have been rumors of strange happenings. Number 5. Man proposes, God disposes. At Royal Holloway College at the University of London, Edwin Landseer's picture, Man Proposes, God Disposes, is covered by a Union flag every year during exams. Not because of any fears of cheating during history exams, but because students believe they will fail their exams, or even go mad, if they look at it. This fear of the painting goes back a long way in the history of the college. During one of the exams, a student had stared directly into one of the polar bear's eyes. Trance-like, the student had then gone mad and killed herself, although not before etching the words, "The polar bears made me do it," onto her exam paper. The subject matter of the picture is highly grisly and macabre. It was based on events that have been brought back into the limelight with the announcement that the Canadian government has discovered one of the 2 boats used in the doomed Franklin expedition of 1845. It is the tales about this mission which inspired the horror stories that frightened the students. Landseer's painting depicts two polar bears savagely attacking one of these ships, as well as the human remains of the crew who embarked on the failed expedition, led by John Franklin, to find the Northwest Passage. Finding this pass was extremely important to British merchants and sailors in the 19th century, as it would link the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans, and so significantly cut the length of crucial voyages. Man proposes, God disposes reveals just how distressing the Victorians found the failure of this scientific expedition and the plight of the crew. Number 6. The Anguished Man. An oil painting is known to be one of the most haunted objects in the world alongside the Annabelle doll and the Dybbuk box. According to legend, the Anguished Man was created by an unknown artist who mixed the paint with his own blood. Shortly after his work was completed, the artist committed suicide. It is currently owned by Sean Robinson from Cumbria, England. Robinson inherited the Anguished Man from his grandmother, who warned him that the painting was cursed. Although he was fascinated with the painting, Robinson had to keep it in the basement of his house because his wife did not like it. In 2010, he finally removed the Anguished Man from the basement after a flooding and kept it in one of the bedrooms. Since then, Robinson and his family began experiencing strange activities around the house, such as seeing a shadowy figure of a man and hearing sounds of whispering and crying. Further incidents occurred weeks later, haunting each member of the family. At nights, Robinson would wake up to see a dark faceless figure standing in his bedroom, and his wife discovered a stranger lying on the bed next to her, leaving her traumatized. The incident that really put the family in danger was when the couple's son Keenan felt a presence push him down the stairs. In 2011, Robinson uploaded a video on YouTube titled "Ghost Activity Caught on Tape, Haunted Painting, The Anguished Man," which gained over 1 million views. The video was recorded in one of the bedrooms for 8 hours, condensed down to nearly 3 minutes, and contains footage of the door closing on its own while the painting is in the room. In addition to that, a loud bang and sounds of scraping can be heard in this video. Since then, Robinson uploaded more videos, posting updates about the painting, and captured further paranormal activity in the house, such as distorted sounds and a mysterious ghostly figure running past the camera. To this day, the painting is in Robinson's possession. He refuses to destroy the painting and keeps it in his basement to avoid any more harm to his family. Number 7. The Stagecraft, or the Hanging Man. Artist Laura P. created a painting based on a paranormal photo clicked by James Kidd. Kidd's picture of a stagecraft has a surprising element: a headless figure perched on the left of the wagon. Once she was done with the painting, she felt uneasy as to why she chose this theme. Her unease escalated when the local business she hung it at told her to remove the painting, as workers claimed the painting moved on its own, caused a few papers to go missing, and made everyone uncomfortable. Deciding to keep the painting with her, Laura put it up in her new home. However, small strange occurrences happened for many years after, all of which involved the painting, or happened close to it. A friend who didn't believe Laura's story laughed at the canvas, only to wake up at night to the crash of an old clock that had been on the wall securely for 40 years. Another friend clicked a picture of the painting, only to see a white, hazy figure missing its head at his home. Number 8. Love Letters Replica. The Love Letters painting is dubbed one of the most haunted paintings in the world and is most known for its history connected to Austin's Driscoll Hotel. The story goes that a young girl of 4, named Samantha Houston, was running down the grand stairs when she tripped and fell to her death. People think that this painting was then hung up on the 5th floor of the hotel as a tribute to her. The truth is, this isn't Samantha at all. This painting was a modern-day replica by Richard King of a work called Love Letters, actually painted by Charles Trevor Garland. It is quite possible that the painting may have been brought because the little girl in the picture looked like Samantha, but it most certainly isn't her at all. When this picture was hung up on the 5th floor of the hotel, people reported feeling dizzy around the painting, nauseous, and having strange sensations like being lifted off the ground. Others have said that the girl in the painting has tried to communicate with them, and her expression changes. Another haunting tale associated to this painting is that the artist Charles Trevor Garland painted the original painting after seeing a little girl who was holding flowers and a letter for her father, who was a soldier in the American Civil War, and her father never returned. Number 9. The Rain Woman. The artist who painted this revealed a strange feeling came over her while she was painting the woman. Artist Svetlana Telets painted the painting in less than 5 hours and felt during those hours that a hand was guiding her. The painting was put on the market but was quickly brought back, which occurred several times by different purchasers of it. It now hangs in the Vinnytsia salon Merck's furniture on the streets of Kiev. Customers who visit the shop today claim that sometimes you can catch the painting smiling, and to some there is often a glance of anger. Svetlana stated she felt as if someone was always with her, and one day she had the urge to draw and believe she captured who was watching over her. She said, "I always felt like someone was watching me. I always drove such thoughts away. Then, one day, by the way, it wasn't a rainy day at all, I was sitting in front of a blank canvas and thought of what I could draw. Suddenly I saw clearly the contours of a woman. Her face, colors, shades. I saw every detail of the image. I started to draw it, as if someone drove my hand over the paper. In 5 hours I managed to finish it." The first purchaser was a lonely businesswoman. She hung it on the wall in her bedroom, and after 2 weeks, Svetlana got a call late at night from the lady stating, "Please take it back, I can't sleep. It feels like there is someone else in my apartment beside me. I even took it off the wall and hid it behind the cupboard, but still I have this feeling." The second purchaser, a young man, bought the painting. He too couldn't stand it. He brought it back to the artist without even taking his money back. He said he kept dreaming of it and complained that every night there was a shadow of the woman walking around. He stated that it was making him mad and he was extremely afraid of it. The third purchaser was a man who was completely skeptical and didn't believe in what was happening with it at all, but he quickly returned it when he started to see the lady in the painting's wide eyes everywhere. He also claimed to have intense headaches while being in the room with it. Many believe the painting is evil and is cursed. Number 10. Untitled Nightmarish Painting. The morbid polished paintings of Zdzislaw Beksinski are, in many cases, the stuff of nightmares. In fact, the inspiration for most of this renowned artist's work came from a desire to paint in such a manner, as if I were photographing dreams. This approach led to some truly scary Zdzislaw Beksinski art that rivals the very best of other dark artists, such as H.R. Giger and Hieronymus Bosch. Unfortunately, the darkness touched much more than just Beksinski's work. While most characterized the artist as having been humorous and pleasant, his life story contained several tragedies that likely inspired him to produce so many pieces of grim, twisted imagery. In 1998, cancer claimed the life of Beksinski's wife, Zofia. His son, Thomas, committed suicide just 1 year later. To express his demons, Beksinski created numerous paintings, photographs, and sculptures that rival artistic depictions of hell in terms of gore, color schemes, and general terror. None are titled, allowing your imagination to run wild with gruesome possibilities. He's become so prolific that now, a dedicated Zdzislaw Beksinski gallery exists in Poland containing 600 pieces of art. Sadly, what many see as a curse over the vast collection of Zdzislaw Beksinski paintings struck again in 2005. Beksinski's life came to an untimely end due to the murderous actions of his trusted caretaker's 19-year-old son, who stabbed him to death, allegedly over $100. But whether or not a curse exists over his work is beside the point. Gazing into any of Beksinski's garish and surreal paintings will make you believe in a plethora of horrors, far worse than any curse. It is believed that looking at the painting for too long can lead to one's death. So, there you have it, these are some of the most haunting artworks ever created. If you're an art lover, make sure to find out about each piece's history, or else you might end up as a cautionary tale just like the owners of these haunted paintings.